In 1483, two brothers, Edward and Richard, the young princes of England, were placed in the Tower of London. It was meant to be a place of safety until Edward's coronation, but history records no coronation, only tragedy. No witnesses, no burial, no conclusion. The boys simply stopped appearing in the record, their story cut short mid-sentence, and in that absence a legend began to take shape. For centuries, guards and visitors have spoken of faint laughter echoing from the upper chambers, of small shadows moving along the stone. No one claims proof, yet the stories persist, a reminder that history is not only written by what or who survives, but by what refuses to fade. Ghosts are rarely defined by what they are. More often, they are recognized by what they are missing. A name, a memory, a voice. Something once whole that is fractured, leaving only traces behind. Across cultures and centuries, spirits persist where the boundary between existence and absence has been disrupted. They linger in unfinished stories, a life cut short, a purpose left unresolved, a truth never revealed. Whether called ghosts, phantoms, or specters, they are remnants of potential, the incomplete, the interrupted, the almost. They are what remains when the world forgets to let go. Some still haunt ruins, others haunt moments, but ghosts are not limited to the living. They appear wherever something meant to exist is left incomplete. A painting abandoned mid-stroke, a song missing its final note, a page torn from its binding. Even ideas can haunt us, echoing in the silence they leave behind. In the realm of Lorcana, where imagination gives shape to being, such absence carries consequence. When creation falters, the result is not emptiness, it's persistence. Deep within the Inkwell caverns, something has gone wrong in the process of creation. Glimmers, beings formed from stories and imagination, rely on complete pages to become whole. But now, torn fragments have given birth to whispers. Half-realized characters have emerged, unable to finish becoming who they were meant to be. They drift and echo throughout the caverns. These whispers are not villains, they are possibilities suspended mid-creation, seeking the rest of their shape, the missing pieces, the meaning that was denied to them. The question is no longer what is rising from the caverns. The question is who were the whispers meant to become? Whispers in the Well drew my attention from the moment it was announced. I've always been drawn to the darker corners of storytelling, the eerie, the unexplained, the elements that suggest there's more happening beneath the surface than anyone might realize. This set promised exactly that. Familiar figures rendered unfamiliar, their forms altered by forces we don't yet understand. Mechanically and narratively, they represent a shift in the game's evolution, introducing interactions that feel as unpredictable and unsettling as the forces they embody. But as details emerged, it became clear that the whispers were only part of what waits in the Inkwell caverns. Each reveal hinted at and showed us deeper disruptions. Characters who do not belong in the dark finding themselves shaped by it, and others whose very presence suggests that Lorcana's foundations are shifting. Whatever is happening underground is not contained, and the consequences are beginning to spread. The caverns hum faintly, as if ink itself moves through their veins. Rivers without names carve paths through black stone, carrying whispers of stories that never reach the surface. The river that flows through the mysterious ruins glows with a troubling light. Bagheera observed that it looked and moved like water, yet somehow felt different. Deeper still within the inkwell caverns lie the ink pools, 6 vast basins where the raw essence of creation collects before flowing upward toward the great illuminary. Each pool glows with its own distinct hue, forming a subterranean spectrum that shifts and breathes like liquid light. The surrounding caverns are not just barren rock, they are organic, self-contained, and ancient. Bioluminescent flora cast muted colors along the cavern walls, illuminating vines that respond to movement and to the faint pulses of unseen creatures below the waterline. Insects leave trails of light, fleeting signatures guiding the way toward the mysterious ruins, structures raised by an unknown people in an unknown time, deepening the mysteries even further. The most complete account of the caverns comes from a seemingly lost text, Hannah's Herborium, a field journal written by Hannah, an Illumineer who vanished long ago. Pages from the book document flora and fauna unseen on the surface. From her notes we learn of the Trispiritus, a plant with triple-pointed leaves said to have restorative properties, and a warning to avoid 3 thorns, whose touch causes severe irritation and rashes. A study believed to have belonged to Hannah was eventually uncovered deep within the inkwell caverns. Inside were several trinkets attributed to the curator, positioned near a device Shanzay calls the enigmatic inkcaster. Is this Hannah's inkcaster, and could they have been the very friend and colleague Arcasia once spoke of? The Illumineers and their Glimmer friends delve deeper into the caverns to investigate all of these mysteries. Where the unexplained emerges, investigation follows. The first to take up the case are Nick Wilde and Judy Hopps. Having learned from the strange disturbances that appeared before Ursula and Jafar seized power, the two waste no time. They move quickly to investigate the new reports, determined to uncover what's stirring in the caverns before it grows into something far, far worse. They are not alone. The DuckTales expedition team, always up for adventure and mystery, dive deep into the caverns to investigate as well. Scrooge McDuck does not chase mysteries out of fear. He pursues them because he knows that secrets often guard the most valuable truths and treasures within. With Huey, Dewey, Louie, Webby, and the rest of the crew by his side, he treats the caverns like an uncharted map, each whisper a clue to a greater discovery. And then there's the one who has already faced darkness and survived it. Mickey Mouse Detective returns with renewed purpose, but this time he is not hunting villains. Joining him are Pluto, Donald Duck, Goofy, Minnie Mouse, and Daisy Duck, acting not as adventurers or sidekicks, but as ghost hunters. Tools in hand, they descend into the depths, and one of the first to recognize the truth about the whispers is Daisy. These aren't ghosts at all. What appears spectral is instead something far more disquieting. Glimmers caught between existence. Whispers. To understand the whispers, we must first understand what they lack. A whisper is not fully ink cast because the page that told its story was torn. Its identity exists only in fragments. In gameplay terms, this incompleteness manifests itself through a mechanic called boost, a method of restoring what was lost, if only temporarily. Boost allows players to pay a cost to put a card from the top of their deck underneath the whisper. For a moment, that half-formed glimmer becomes more than what the ink alone could create, a glimpse of the character they were meant to be. This surge in power doesn't always last, however. The boost ability often fades, and the whisper returns to its fractured state, requiring the player to boost again to use their ability. However, some whispers, like Ursula, Whisper of Vanessa, retain their ability as long as a card remains underneath them. I've always been drawn to the intersection between gameplay mechanics and storytelling. It's what makes Disney Lorcana feel more alive, like shifting a Floodborn or singing a song, or even banishing a Vanish character with an action. These narrative-driven systems are the ones that always stay with me the longest. And where whispers are defined by absence, the gargoyles are defined by restraint. Their story has always been one of duality, stone by day, warriors by night. In Whispers in the Well, that ancient rhythm becomes more than lore. It becomes a limitation written into the very cards. The Stone by Day ability reflects the curse that defines them. If a player holds 3 or more cards in hand at the start of their turn, the gargoyles remain unready, locked in their stone forms, silent and unmoving. Strategy becomes a matter of discipline, knowing when to act and when to hold still. It's a mechanic that punishes excess and rewards patience. But like the gargoyles themselves, the cost is balanced by power. Take Lexington, for example, a 4-strength, 4-willpower character with alert who only costs 3 ink to play. Statistically, a figure like this shouldn't exist without compromise, and that compromise is the stone. By day, they rest. By night, they dominate the board. Each gargoyle embodies this tension between potential and limitation, freedom and restraint. Demona, Scourge of the Wyvern Clan, exerts your opponent's entire board, but also draws them cards along with yourself, the 3 cards that will turn your other gargoyles to stone. A very interesting balancing mechanic that comes hand in hand with their extreme power. Among the shadows now stirring in the Inkwell caverns, one presence stands apart, a figure born of ink and of fear itself, the headless horseman. Drawn from the legend of the Sleepy Hollow, he has found his way into the depths, and his arrival marks one of the most chilling moments in Lorcana's expanding narrative. Legends describe the horseman as an unrelenting pursuer, doomed to wander in search of what was taken from him. Here within the Inkwell caverns, that pursuit continues. He moves silently through the underground rivers and fog-drenched halls, his approach heralded only by the echo of hooves striking stone. Illumineers and glimmers alike report fleeting encounters, a blur of motion, a flash of steel, and the lingering dread of being followed long after the sound has faded. His inclusion in Disney Lorcana felt inevitable, but feels perfect in Whispers in the Well. The Headless Horseman has always been a fixture of Halloween, a symbol of relentless pursuit and unfinished vengeance, and now he embodies the perfect extension of this set's tone, a world where the past refuses to stay buried and where fear itself has taken form. Unlike the Whispers, whose tragedy lies in their incompleteness, the Horseman's terror lies in his certainty. He knows exactly what he seeks, and he will not stop. Whispers in the Well doesn't just pull from haunted tales. It also reaches into one of Disney's darkest corners, the Black Cauldron. Long overlooked, its arrival here also feels pretty deliberate. This is a film defined by bleak landscapes, lost kingdoms, and a villain whose ambition is not conquest but domination. In a set already dealing with half-formed glimmers, restless spirits, and things that should not be walking the caverns, the Black Cauldron fits with unsettling perfection. We see the arrival of many different characters from the Black Cauldron, but the true weight of this inclusion comes with the Horned King. His presence shifts the tone of the caverns from haunted to occupied. The Horned King is not a trickster or rogue sorcerer. He is a tyrant of the dead. With him comes the threat of the Cauldron-born, an army of all the dead of centuries past. That line alone folds seamlessly into the atmosphere of this set, where the Whispers are incomplete lives reaching for form. The Cauldron-born are the opposite, fully formed but devoid of life. They do not float, they march. The Black Cauldron is not just a clever pull, it's a thematic escalation. In a single stroke, Whispers in the Well links many expressions of the unnatural. Whispers, beings that never finished becoming. The headless horseman, a relentless revenant. The horned king and his cauldron born. Yet even in the dark depths, there are those who would stand against the spreading shadow. The gargoyles, as we mentioned before, but they are not alone. A new force has emerged, the Ink Champions. Disney's sensational six have taken on new forms, each aligned with one of the 6 ink colors. Mickey Mouse, Amber Champion. Minnie Mouse, Amethyst Champion. Goofy, Emerald Champion. Donald Duck, Ruby Champion. Daisy Duck, Sapphire Champion. And Pluto, Steel Champion. Together, these ink champions represent more than just color. They embody balance amid corruption and harmony within chaos. Where the Whispers echo uncertainty, the champions feel like an answer with purpose. Every world has its ghosts. Some are born from death, others from forgetting, and some come from torn pages where stories once told now whisper to be finished. When we play Disney Lorcana, we cast ink across the pages, giving form to things that were once only stories, but creation is fragile. A torn fragment, something new begins to take shape in the absence. The Whispers are that absence made visible. They remind us that imagination is not a clean process. The ink caverns below are not simply the setting for these stories. They are the echo chamber of Lorcana's own memory. Within their walls flow half-remembered tales, stone that breathes, death that marches, light that refuses to fade. The gargoyles hold their vigil through restraint. The horned king commands the dead through excess. The ink champions rise to restore balance between what should exist and what should not. And still, the Whispers persist. And if you listen closely, in the pause between turns, in the shuffle of cards, you might still hear it. A voice, half-formed, reaching through the caverns, asking not to be forgotten.